Hey there, peoples of the ether. We're not gonna go with YouTube. People of the ether. How you doing? As you can see, my voice is going into the death rattles of extinction. But it's this is episode 8, and we're gonna be talking about just making games. That's what we're going to go, or just the creation of things, and at least how I kind of tackle that sort of thing and whatnot. So let's do this. All right, welcome back. That song was called Blue Map or Aoi Chizu. It's by Ciela, and I've been trying to rediscover the site. When I do find it, I'll make sure to put it in the description and whatnot. For this episode, it's not going to be particularly one or another, but it's going to be a bunch of different songs that are like soft listening music. It's soft music. It's so soft. So gonna try to be a bit soothing because I'm gonna be a bit ranty because so this past week I have no idea what it was. I don't know if it was male PMS or what, but we'll get into that. First off, how are all you doing? Are you doing well? I hope you're doing well. Hope you're not as angry as I am. Because part of the anger that I have, I can't even explain. I'm just in a grouchy ass mood. So, yeah. But, okay, alright. So, yeah, this past week, I actually ended up getting a new keyboard and mouse, just a cheapo one. I've been using the same keyboard and mouse for like over 2 years. They needed retired because the keyboard is like a Japanese style, and it doesn't work very well when I'm trying to type out certain things, and I'm hitting the up button more than I should, and when you hit it, if you're like trying to hit the up button, but also in holding down shift to highlight things, and you start typing, and if you're not looking, it deletes. It's a pain in the butt. But I got cheapo ones of that, and I also got a new book called Gravity's Rainbow that's hiding in the other room as I point in that direction, even though you can't see me. Now, Gravity's Rainbow is, as I just noticed, I have a crack in my desk. No! But, Gravity's Rainbow allegedly is one of the best books of, American literature in the second half of the 20th century. So, it's 700 odd pages. There's like 400 characters. I guess the writing style may be a bit terse or just different. I'm not quite certain. I haven't read into it. But it's about World War II. And I got this before before your comment there, Kid Koala. So that is still on the shelf of things to get at a later date. So the Wolf's Hour, I believe, was what that was called. But Gravity's Rainbow deals with World War II, V2 rockets, and trying to unlock the mystery of this black device they refer to it as. I have no idea how it is, but I will give it a read sometime down the road. because I already have so much else to read. But yeah, that's that. The thing about what I say ranty. I have just been in a very I don't want to say pissed off mood, but just in a grouchy kind of mood, and it just, I don't know. Like last week went by as a blur, and I didn't get what I needed to get done for things, and I'm just kind of like, because I didn't put up a recording of Power On when I should have. It slipped my mind, and I was writing a bit, and then I'd get like a bit stuck with the writing, and then I was like, and then I just discombobulated. I really don't know why. I would like to know why, but I was just in a very grouchy mood, and something that really gets to me, and this is why it's going to be for the discussion part. Something that really gets to me is, so I'm working on this game and I'm working on this story. So I'm lugging around my laptop, my papers, and all this sort of stuff for the story right at the moment, because the game stuff, I've done all I can until we're working up to the alpha, and then after the alpha we're working on the game. So I'm waiting to get to the game part, so we know exactly what all we're going to be doing. Maybe we have to truncate things or take out parts of the story because of financial reasons and all that sort of stuff, which is kind of poopy, but that's the life of creating. But at least with the game and stuff. But whatchamacallit. So I'm lugging all this stuff around, and I plop my butt down to start working on something. There's a comment made off to the side, just asking me, not directly me, asking me what I was doing. Somebody else comments and says, "Oh, they're not doing anything. They're not doing anything," which immediately pissed me off. It bugs me that's with writing and that sort of thing, it's just kind of seen as, "Oh, you're just playing around. They're just words you're putting together on a piece of paper," and it's like, no, not quite. No, I mean, there's a little bit more to it. There's a bit of a cathartic. There's a bit of a cathartic thing to the whole process. It's just making sure it makes sense, and just it's a joy to do sort of thing. And for somebody to be like, "Oh, they're just not doing anything," it's like, really not doing anything. Just kind of just holding myself, touching pens to paper, bitch. But part of it's big. Oh, it's already big in a grouchy mood. But then to hear that sort of thing, I was just like, "You suck." But that's, yeah. So part of my grouchy mood had been stemmed from that, and then just not being. I don't know. The weather got nicer, and I got grouchier. I guess that's just how it goes. But I don't know. Sometimes you just get into those moods, and part of it's probably also just because working on the game and stuff, you're trying to get it through, and you don't want to force it, but you want, yeah. Thankfully, with the alpha, what we're doing is a couple pre-alpha steps, and we finished up one, and we had some testing with very close friends and stuff like that. They gave us proper feedback, not just yeah, I loved it. They've been giving us really good feedback, and a lot of the feedback has been stuff that we plan on adding. We just wanted to conceptualize stuff. Here's what this will look like in a game, sort of, kind of thoughts, and then build from that and do another pre-alpha kind of testing, and then actually have the alpha. So, But yeah, I hope people are in a better mood. I, as grouchy as I am, will not like. I'm not gonna be vindictive or spiteful when I do this. So, but I'm yeah. This will be my cathartic moment of just blah 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 blah. So, with that, let's listen to some more soothing musics, and yeah, yeah. And I need to get some more drink in me because I'm already losing my voice. Hi there, welcome back. That was a rendition of Star Piano done by. I'm kind of losing my voice. AK here is the contributing artist information I'm being given. So I'll have to dig around to see if I can find the website for it. But it's a variant of Star Piano. I love that song. And like I said before, I think it's based off of that Children of the Earth song by Ayer, Ayur. And his kind of music really sits well with me. It's very much in the vein of Nujabes, and I love his music. His music's fantastic. There's the vocal stuff, which is great too. I like to listen to the instrumental stuff when I'm trying to work on things. Another good one for that would be like DJ Okawadi. Just some pretty ridiculously good juice. Yeah. So this is the discussion part. In the discussion part, we're going to talk a little bit about the creation method here for the game I'm working on, Saedra's Calling, and the story I'm writing, Sudraba. Now, when I was first kind of starting to do this, I got interrupted, so I had to stop and then wait until now. So I was like, well, I don't have the same train of thought, so we're going to kind of reboot this because I was listening to a little bit of it, and it was like 8 minutes of one thing, and then I'm like, I don't know if I'm really quite certain that's the right way to go with this kind of thing. And so I was like, we'll just start it over. So, yeah! I guess I'll just start with the game that I'm working on. And I guess, for me, this is just kind of putting it into words and just kind of thinking about it, because generally I don't think about this sort of thing. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm done. It just kind of goes out of my head, and then I go to the next thing. So, yeah. But, for example, the game that I'm working on, it's been a methodical push to do. And I don't know. I've been trying to make a game for quite some time. I used to. I don't know if my mom still has it or not, but back when I was in 5th grade, I had drawn up world maps and a bestiary and stuff for a story, and had sent it to Nintendo of America, and they kindly sent that back, and with a letter saying, thank you for your interest and stuff, but we get this kind of thing all the time, and if you still got interest down the road, maybe you should look into joining the team. Ooh. Something like that. But I'm going to pause this real quick, because I really need to get something to drink. Unpaused. Okay. Apologies. I just don't know where that came from. But but they sent me that back and everything, and it was really cool, because it was like, even though I was turned away, I still got, even if it was a token response, a cookie cutter response, it was still cool to see. I mean, that's at least something I'll give them credit for. But so I did a little bit there, and then as I got older, I was introduced to RPG Maker, and I would fiddle around with that. And actually, a story that I have in my head that my mom hounds me to this day to finish, because I had written a bunch of it in high school. And she read it one night when I was not aware of it, and I was very upset with her at the time, because I was like, this is not done, and this is not as good as I would like it to be. But she enjoyed it, allegedly. It is my mother, after all, so I have to take that with a grain of salt. But she's hounded me for it, but that story idea, I took it and started putting it into RPG Maker, just to kind of get a different concept or different perspective of it and everything, and that sort of thing, in college. And after making, I never finished it up, but I got to about, playing it bare bones without making the proper adjustments of, enemies and more town dialogue and things like that going on, going from pom pa-dum 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 pa-dum, from point to point to point. So the skeletal system of the process, it was about 7 to 9 hours long, which that's pretty cool. I was like, cool, and I still had 3 other sections to get through, and those would have been pretty beefy sections, and I just never got around to it, because I'd imagine partially because my laptop or computer kind of went defunct, and also going to Japan and stuff really kind of took away the focus of that sort of thing. And there's a few other kind of stutter steps into possibly thinking of doing a game and stuff that just never came to fruition. And so this is kind of interesting, because Sudraba's connected to this, which people might find this whole discussion thing kind of boring, because it's not really a big thing. But the first time Matt and I, one of the guys I'm working with for the game, he kind of broached me about the subject about making one. I came up with a few story ideas, and one of them happened to be about the story that is now Sudraba. And while he liked it, he didn't think it quite translated into a game. Now, I think it could in the same kind of vein as something like Uncharted. But that aside, it got shelved, and we had a different idea, but we just never got around to it. And a couple of years later, we were resolute. We were like, okay, let's do this. So I, with kind of newfound fervor, started looking into, okay, all right, these are the things we discussed what we would like in the story, what kind of tone and that sort of thing. We discussed that, and then I set about I made like 5 or 6 different story ideas in the train ride back from Tokyo to where I was living at the time. And yeah, so within a 2-hour period, and that's the thing, you can come up with ideas really quickly, and I will continue to parrot that quote of his of everybody's got ideas, it's putting them into reality is the work. I can come up with just a bunch of ideas real quick, but it's then actually making those into something that's the actual process. And to me, that is the the hurdle to the mountain to overcome, the barrier to break through. It is something, because when you think of an idea for, say, like a story or a movie or a video, or something like that. Take like a Happy Console Gamer. Think Johnny's, the hell was that movie called? I've seen it a couple times. I enjoy it. It's just a fun movie. What I wish I could. I guess it's like Happy Console Gamer the movie. I wish I could remember the title of it. But take his movie for example. That is, he had the idea for it, and then came the actual work, and that probably nearly drove him insane. Much like I think that's what it does. I think just creating things that are like fictional, like just fantasy books or something like that. It's part cathartic and part crazy. So you go mad. It's a maddening process where you're just like so that took how long? A handful of years. But very excited. He had this idea, and he finally put in the work to get the idea done. And I imagine he would be the first one to tell you that there are plenty of things or scenes or reactions and stuff. I think he's even made comments about his own acting in scenes and stuff that aren't up to what he would have liked. But in the same hand, that is overcame by the feelings of actually completing something. And I think in that regard, that's that is the, and then it's not to say, oh well, don't go mad. I think that's just where the maddening plus excitement kind of goes. The excitement first comes from having this idea. So you have the idea, you're like, oh yeah, and then when you start putting in the work. So for example, Sudraba, the story that I'm writing right now. When I first talked to Matt about it, I had the idea, which came from listening to music. I was listening to a song, and a completely different image popped into my head than what the song belongs to. It's a game song, just saying. But that scene is the climactic part in the story that I'm writing, and I am still not there yet. And it's in a way it's kind of keeping me going, because it's like I really need to get to the scene. I want to get to the scene, sort of thing. But it's there. So there's an excitement there. But by golly gee, is there is it kind of, I don't want to say a chore, but it's not just la 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 playtime. That's what kind of irritates me. And I think I might have mentioned it earlier in this recording. That's what kind of bugs the hell out of me when people think of if I'm writing, oh well, he's not doing anything, he's just playing, or that sort of thing. That irritates me because it's work. You're okay, yeah. You're not going out there and laying concrete down. You're not doing brick and mortar, building a building sort of thing. I should say erecting a building. Building a building kind of it's kind of get nice flow. But you're not doing that sort of thing. I understand, but in the same hand, you're trying to piece together something coherent, and well, I mean, not all the time, of course, but I'm trying to put something together that's coherent and makes sense and is enjoyable, and that sort of thing. And so you gotta have to not quite shelve the excitement, but you kind of have to keep it kindled in certain ways. And some ways to do it, maybe is that you just because even though I have that scene in there, the initial concept of Sudraba has changed very greatly from what it was. Like, well, in certain ways. Like, initially with just the game idea, it focused on two people. Now that I'm writing this, it's got a whole bunch of other people and different concepts and stuff. And for myself, like, one of the characters that I really like to write in the game is named Josephine. She's a fun character to write, and she's just a very fun. She's a very confident woman. We'll say she's a very fun character to write, and so I get enjoyment and excitement just writing about that character. Like, I guess that's the way to kind of do it. I like to have digressions in the story, so I'll start. There'll be something, and then all of a sudden, because it's a tangent to it, I'll kind of digress into more historical things because I like history. So the history of a certain area of the kingdom itself named Sudraba, or maybe like a mythology story that's pertinent and stuff like that. So that's, I guess, my ways of keeping that same sort of excitement that I had with when I started writing the idea and everything out into an actual story. That I guess that's just how I do it. So I don't feel like it's a chore, because I think that's kind of what happens with take for example a lot of Kickstarter games. It feels like the indie developers who try to do that sort of thing, they have they love games, but they don't like how to put this. You can love games, but just not be able to make a game. It's very possible, because those are two entirely different things. I think it's a very kind of you can still appreciate games, but I'm not saying that if you make games that you should only be doing it. You should be doing it with the concept of having fun. And also projecting that this is fun, or this is something I find fun. I hope other people find this fun as well. That's, I guess, the way I could think of it there. Like, Iwato is a really, I don't want to say kind of unique character in that regard, but I don't want to say character, but person, a unique person in that regard, because on his I want to, like, the quoted lines about him having the mind of a developer but the heart of a gamer. I think that's what, treasured memories of having fun with games is you have to kind of not quite like shelve that, but you have to use that kind of enjoyment to push with the mental part of developing and making games. So where I see a lot of these Kickstarters where people are very passionate about games, it's that they just have the passion for it. So they have ideas, but then they don't have a way of converting those ideas into some sort of tangible success. And mind you, even if a game doesn't sell well, as long as and it's not just a very quick Flappy Bird sort of thing, And even that, I guess, is an excess is wow, I'm really dumb. Is a success in the regards of people found it fun. It just happened to be also profitable, but it's really basic. I guess that's the it depends on what your goals are for for the. I'll be straight up for the game that we're working on for Saedra's Calling. My goals are try to for people who are not really gamers or people who play games or anything like that to see that not all game stories are just a game story, and not say that that's a bad thing, like Doom's game story, whatever, but it's still fun as hell. I feel like you can still have a very I guess for lack of a better word, like deep story without having to heavily lean on tropes, which is what like JRPGs have done. Is they've leaned really, really heavily on tropes. I know Silver Mongoose and I have kind of talked about that a little bit, and there's probably a few other people in there. I want to say Linku of Courage 1, who I think changed his name, and I've got to remember what it is. He's also mentioned stuff about that. Maybe even BK McGlynn has said something as well about the trope. Sorry, I'm like scatterbrained as usual. I think you guys have said stuff about that, but I don't know. Like, I find a lot of like Japanese RPG stories, not all of them, but a lot of them kind of fall in the vein of like a Saturday morning cartoon sort of thing. Not to say that it's bad. It's just not something that really interests me. I've never really been that kind of person. I may have watched some as a kid, but not like a ton. But yeah, so I mean, trying to raise the bar with stories, particularly in a genre which is meant to focus on stories, that's something I'd like to aim for. For example, with take for example with Final Fantasy 13, where there's just hallway simulator aside, where the dialogue is a bit trite and there's not a lot of interactions with the world. You have to learn through the world through freaking stories that were online before the game was released, kind of thing. I mean, I don't hate Final Fantasy 13, but I honestly don't remember much of anything about it. But something more akin to like Trails in the Sky. I love that game. Why do I love that game? For starters, the music's phenomenal, but also they take time into building the world. Mind you, they may take a bit too much time building the world, but they take time to actually build a world or a setting. And I think a lot of times that doesn't work out in games. Even the old ones, which is fine. Like, for example, Lufia 2. It honestly feels like nothing goes on in those places until you get there. And then all of a sudden, hey, there's something going on because the hero's here. I guess that it kind of feels a little empty in that kind of way. Mind you, I love Lufia 2. Lufia 2 is a fun game. But it doesn't quite kind of hit that point of making it a real cool world. Like with Trails, for example, you have people kind of doing their own thing and a bunch of people, and that's something we're kind of going for with our game, is to have people in towns and villages and doing their own thing. And some people aren't just gonna be like, oh yeah, totally, I'll help you. No, they're doing their own thing. You can do your own thing. But real quickly here, because I've gone on pretty lengthy here already, surprisingly. Yeah. But with the game, came up with a bunch of different story ideas. We discussed it, narrowed it down to 3, and then I wrote out a synopsis page and presented it to people who didn't even play games, just to see what they thought of the different stories. Because the story doesn't have to be a game story to appeal to people. Look at the Lost Odyssey memory sequences. I know I bring this up a lot, but those to me are probably the best forms of telling story in a game, which is kind of bad because it's a written short story kind of thing. So it's yeah. I can think of scenes in games that have done really good job of kind of evoking emotions and stuff like that. The ending to Lufia 2, for example, after you beat the final boss, that whole bit is like, whoo, it goes from one emotion to another, and then back down to like a dull kind of thing. It's really good. But yeah, those memory sequences. But so I took those and then passed these 3 different synopses around, and these synopses, and people voted for them. They were like, well, I like 1 better, or I like 2 better. And then I would ask them what they liked about the ones that they liked and what they didn't like about the other ones. And I even had people who, like I said, didn't have any interest in gaming or just that sort of thing. Asking men, women, younger folk, older folk, just different people, just to get an idea of what they thought about it. And then we settled on what is now Saedra's Calling. And so I had the synopsis, I had characters established, I had written out characters, and this was for each of those 3 of those story ideas. So I had character ideas established, and I took those characters and then proceeded to make the world as we went along. So, and that's how I ended up doing it. And I did that. I finished up the main, I wrote out the story of the game, finished that up, and then I started doing all the side quest stuff, and then also the names of people in the towns and things about them, which would also lead into side quest stuff. I think I actually did the name of the towns and stuff, and then I have pages of just names for people and stuff like that. And it's 200 pages altogether of typed stuff, and that is how I've approached making the game. So it's written out like a screenplay, but there's still a whole lot of dialogue to do. So it'll be a fun process. Yay! And then kind of similar with the story. I had a couple of characters already set, and then I decided to bring them into the perspective instead of keeping it solely with just the 2 people. Because initially Sudraba was called the Thief and the Adulteress, and it was this is kind of wordy. So yeah. Yay! But that's let's take a break. I need to get some cool drinky drink on, and we'll come back with comments, and they're gonna be all over the place. So yeah. as raindrops softly hit the windows and everything, and it's just kind of a bit more of a gloomy sort of day. I continue with the comments section. I'm hoping not going to be an hour long. Yeah. So just right before we get into it, I'd like to thank those who have been commenting. I do greatly appreciate it. It makes for it helps kind of just also to see a different perspective, or just a different, even if it's a similar kind of way we're looking at it, just to see what other people are thinking. And also, I get to hear about some very different things that I never would have thought of, like that Susk, I think that's how you say that, Susk and Whisk comic there. So yeah. So we're going to get into this, and like I've said before, if I do miss anybody's, let me know. I'm going to be kind of jumping back to some comment chains that were talked about in the 7th episode, because for some reason Twitter thinks that those things were spam, so I had to unspam them, and then I was just like, why do you do this? Not Twitter. Did I say Twitter? YouTube said this. YouTube's like, hey, this is spam, we're not going to allow this. I don't like spam! Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to jump back to those and then also get to the other comments. I had to kind of look through to make sure that I was right, just because of how screwed up my schedule has been the past couple weeks. I'm like, did I do this one? Did I do this one? So if I do repeat anything, I apologize. And if I do miss anything, I apologize. Let me know, either in the comments or get to me on Twitter. I had an email set up, but I am dumb and did not set it up properly, so I cannot even get into the email. So I need to do that again. I apologize, because I am a fool. Shouldn't be a surprise. But let's get into the ones that were talked about a little bit last week, so I can kind of wrap that up into a nice pretty bow and go from there. So the first one here, let us go with who responded first. Okay, so this is from Rambling Weekly Fifths. The first one here is from BK McGlynn. And yeah, and this was the conversation we were having back and forth was about Mega Man music, and how he was really into the Game Boy ones, and the music's a bit different. And he may not be a like supreme, like super lord of being able to get through them, but he part nostalgia, part because the music's so awesome, likes the series. And we were kind of going back and forth, and here is he had commented, and I didn't see this until just a couple days ago, so apologies for that. So here is his follow-up to all of, and I got like a huge long list of Mega Man songs from the NES days that I love. So if you want to see those, check out that list. But he responds with, never heard of him. Damn. Tad Nuznov, I hope that's how you say his name. Tad Nuznov, or RushJet 1, is probably the best chip musician I know of. Even better than Vert, who did Shovel Knight. And then he sends a link, and he's like, look at the description for the timeline and tracks. I will do that. And I hope I haven't done this. I have a vague... I've probably did do this, and I'm just being silly. Let's hope not. Oh, goodness. So yeah, like I said, whole schedule, screwy. Let's get back to this. But I will check that link out. I will check many of your faves, because the Game Boy games I'm familiar with, Mega Man 1, 3, and 4. The Game Boy games have many great tracks that weren't featured in the NES games, while they included many of the same NES stage themes. This is a great exclusive Game Boy track, and he has a link for it. It's a mystery what it is, but I will find out soon. Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 5 had completely different soundtracks on the Game Boy. Mega Man 2 on the Game Boy is widely hated, but since it was my first Mega Man game, I love it the most. People mainly don't like it because of the very high screechy notes, but that is how I know it, and I wouldn't want to have it any other way. Check my channel uploads for a couple of the Mega Man Game Boy tracks, including the very best one, Airman on Game Boy. When he first did that list, and then I put up my list, I had done a search for it. That Airman song is really different. Really different. So I will check those things out. I think I had mentioned in a comment to him, I have Mega Man 4 and 5, I want to say, for the Game Boy on my 3DS, and I've played through and beaten them both, but man, are those games hard. Like, for first time ever going through them, I'm like, this is really, really hard. Like, this is really, really hard. Like, Mega Man is huge, and there's not a lot of room to move around, and things do a lot of damage. The screens are really small, so you're jumping from screen to screen a lot. It's different. It's not bad. It's just different. And one that he mentioned, Pluto Man from Mega Man 5. It's a pretty awesome song. So yes. The other comment that was for whatever reason deemed spam that I pulled from the depths of YouTube, thanks YouTube for doing that, you're a pal, was from Kid Koala. We were talking about a couple different things with Robert E. Howard and Conan the Barbarian books and the suggestions and whatnot, and also Mega Man 9 and 10 was kind of in that conversation. And I called him a monster because he didn't really like 10. Jokingly, of course, tongue-in-cheek. But he didn't really care for it, which is fine. He found it really easy, which... yeah, I think it is a bit easier than 9. The thing is that 9 really felt artificially difficult to me, where 9's difficulty kind of lied in the very first time or the first few times playing it, and being unaware of certain pitfalls and things like that. Outside of the one little area in Dr. Wily stage where you have to there's no gravity, so you have to shoot yourself across the room, which I thought was pretty cool. That was pretty clever. It's just the last part, right before the end of it, if you overshoot, a machine will grab you and just rake you into spikes, and that's no, I'm not a fan of that. That's like the one scene I really or one spot of the game I detested in 9, and like all around I just didn't like the shorter stages and a lot of it about 9. 9 didn't sit as well with me as 10 did. But and he puts, I probably should have gave Mega Man 10 another shot before giving my answer, but no, that you don't have to. I mean, that's totally, if you didn't like it because you, for whatever reason, that's fine. I mean, that's totally legit. Like that you don't have to answer to me about it. I mean, certainly you can, like, if you have the chance, I'm not saying people should, but if you have the chance to go back to play a game that you didn't care for a couple years down the road or so, do that. Try it. Give it a chance. Like, I've done that with Mega Man. Final Fantasy 8. I hated 8. Loved the demo, played the real game, hated it, got bored with it, didn't go back to it until years later, probably close to a decade plus later, and I absolutely enjoyed it. Tales of Vesperia, I first tried playing it, I got bored with it, and then I played the PS3 version not like 5 or 6 years later. It was better. I didn't think it was great, but it was better. It was enjoyable. It was fun, at least, so I didn't quit. So, it's just, I mean, yeah, feelings and opinions change and that sort of thing, so no worries about it. But he says he remembers that game being really short. Maybe I'm misremembering it, but I could have swore that the stages were really lengthy in Mega Man 10. I could be wrong. I could be the one that's misremembering it. I could have swore they're a lot longer, particularly a lot longer than Mega Man 9 stages. But no, I could be totally off on that. So, and I'm not even sure if I died while playing through it. What is a big no-no for me. I like my Mega Man games to be hard as hell. That's probably why I like the first one so much. Yeah, if you like the first one so much, that is probably because you eat nails for breakfast and you have no problem digesting all of that iron. Cause yeah. But yeah, if you like really difficult ones, the one is probably the hardest. 5 is not hard at all. 6, if you want really hard, play Mega Man 7. The final boss for Mega Man 7, or final boss, Wily's final form in Mega Man 7 is rather tough. If I remember, I think it's Mega Man 7. I think so. Yeah, Mega Man 7's is pretty ridiculous. Then he puts, "Oh man, I can't believe you've never read Lovecraft." I know, I'm slouch. My mother and father used to read his writings to me as bedtime stories when I was a child. This one was always a favorite of mine. It made me wonder if my cat would make it through the night. And it's called The Cats of Ulthar by H.P. Lovecraft, and it's on the YouTubes. I would check that out. And then he puts Gravity's Rainbow, which I think I talked about at the beginning of this episode as well, is that I also picked that book up recently. I think you are stalking me somehow through the interwebs. Or I'm stalking you, one of the two. I haven't gotten around to reading it yet, but I'm hoping to read it by the end of the year. I think it was in a different video, or maybe it was in the same comment, but Kid Koala is a fairly prolific reader, and I think it's actually in the comments later, so we'll get into that here in a moment. But that's that for that. We're going to jump back to Rambling Weekly 3rd, because Mr. Silver Mongoose put up a thing, and if anybody else has this problem, please let me know. I thought I had remedied this, and I guess not. Like, when I do the editing, I have headphones on, and I have my volume set to half the volume, and it's almost too loud for me. I'm not a very, I can get loud, I can be loud, I just don't like loud noises a lot. Loud noises! It doesn't, drive me insane. It's just more of a discomfort, this is what he put. Listening now, and I am sure I've commented this before, but is there a way to make these a bit louder? Even with my volume maxed out, I am not able to listen to these without being right by my computer. I'll try to make them louder. Like I said, I thought they were pretty loud as it is. I was testing it out on my computer, so I don't know if it's just things on my end that it sounds okay and stuff like that. But I can hear it in the other room and stuff if I max volume and walk away. So I will do that. Check. But if anybody else has anything like that, please let me know. If it's too soft or not. I also try to make sure the music isn't too loud or too much of a jump from the other, because that can be a bit painful. All right, but thank you, Mr. Silver Mongoose. Click, and then we go into Rambling Weekly 6th. All right, and I've got quite a few comments here. This is going to take forever. All right, first off, we have Multi D43. I do like that because that is a nice flow of sound. This person responded, archive.org keeps backups of websites and their content, so check out if you can download the files. Those are now defunct websites had. Just an idea. Keep going, matey. And then I'm trying to figure out how that symbol is like a hey kind of symbol there. That's what I get. I get somebody waving hey, do a good job. Keep fighting. Keep fighting the fight. I use I didn't even think about that, which I use it to upload the podcast and stuff, but I didn't even think of, well, maybe that might be on there. Like, the one that I had to sift through to find music for, the older music and stuff with, In the Blue, which I mentioned, in a previous episode, was that I had to go to Musée, and I think it's on episode 4, and Musée, you have to like sign up for it, and you have to have a Japanese website and phone number and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, this is bullcrap. like just to download the MP3 and stuff like that. It's just like, I want the musics, yay! But that person had them there. I just couldn't. Like I'll just have to see if Loot or Absolute Cycloid has them elsewhere. So, thank you for that recommendation. We're just gonna go down the list. And Hextro. Actually, before we get into the comment on that he had left, he did pass me a very interesting tweet by a Jim K. Weaver. And if you do want to see it, it's on Twitter, at Muragaru553, Muragaru 553. Or check out Hectro. It's at HEKTR0. He linked or said, hey, listen. He showed me this thing by a Jim K. Weaver, pretty much standing by an artistic game choice in having children zombies instead of caving into people who are like, this makes me feel uncomfortable. And he's basically like, it should, because you're a human being. And that's part of the thing about survival, is that if there were zombies, they're going to be children zombies. There may be dog zombies and all that sort of stuff. So you either are going to have to shoot children zombies in the face, or prepare to be eaten by the children of the dead. Yeah. But I mean, it seems a bit brutal, but that's just I think that's something that with post-apocalyptic kind of settings and stuff is supposed to harken back to, is the brutality of nature. We've kind of really gotten away with that with civilization and stuff, and we don't really have as much of that. You want brutality, go to the Congo, and and that sort of thing, where nature's like, yeah, you're a little morsel, you're tasty, chomp chomp, thank you for becoming a part of the circle of life. So, but yeah, very cool. Thank you for alluding me to that. What? Thank you for telling me about that. And then his comment that he put on the YouTubes. Hector put, dude, I freaking love The Princess Bride. I'm going to have to check the book out. An interesting bit of trivia is that the author wrote the book and the screenplay, which is rare. Sorry. So maybe that's where the confusion comes in. The book definitely came first, though. Yeah, William Goldman, like the version of the book that I have, talks about doing that, but it's also like, the book is really interesting because it's Morgenstein is not real. Morgenstein, the guy's not real, and so he is presenting this book as if it is a book that he has translated to give to other people, and that was his way of actually getting through it, because like I was saying before, and this actually kind of ties in well with the discussion part, is that a lot of people get to a point where it's like there's there's no excitement that's kind of spurring them along, and for him, that's how he was able to finish the book, was to basically take it as, I'm translating. Well, not translating, but I'm taking a book that's already made with the story, so basically the story in his head. I'm taking this fictional book and I'm making an abridged version with all the good stuff. Incredibly clever, and as you can tell in the dialogue, because a lot of the dialogue is the same in the movie, very incredible, clever writing going on with with him there. Or thanks, William Goldman. You're awesome. So definitely check it out. The book, it's like reading the movie. Outside of a few different things that happen or characters that are in it that you wouldn't know of. Like they go through this thing called the Zoo of Death. Fezzik and Montoya. Wait, no, is that his name? Yeah, Inigo Montoya. Yeah, I was thinking no, is that Inigo? Inigo. We'll just stick with that. But they go through the Zoo of Death. Montoya sounds like that dude from Scarface. Inigo probably is, knowing my luck. But Inigo and Fezzik go through the Zoo of Death, and it's a much different thing that was never in the movie. But yeah. So he puts, on the topic of censorship, it appears to me that feminism has really targeted the video game industry in the past few years, which I think is the main cause of the censorship that you are referring to. Microsoft recently had an event, and they had female dancers that were wearing revealing outfits, and there was a huge uproar over that. Whereas 10 years ago, no one would have thought twice about that. Same thing with the Overwatch pose. No one would have batted an eye at that pose 10 years ago. But with the whole Gamergate thing and feminist frequency videos, it's like it's no longer okay to have women be anything but independent women that bundle up from head to toe and kick the shit out of men and never need a man's help. Anything short of that, and there's going to be an uproar about it. It really feels to me like we are being beaten into submission in a way. You either have to conform or to be publicly shamed as a person/company. It's not okay to have your own thoughts or like what you want anymore if it's not PC. Right, and some people that I've seen kind of point to something called like the horseshoe theory, where it's two extremes on the polar ends of thought bend towards each other and have very similar ways of dealing with things. And like, here's the thing, which I find really kind of interesting. People try to shame other people with that sort of thing, but the way a lot of people seem to act is that they don't have any shame at all. So it's kind of a weird tactic to be using. Like, it's only the kind of, like, the people who are just kind of mild-mannered are the only ones suffering for it. I'm going to bring up, I don't even know where the hell that is. Next time or something, I'll bring up a quote, because me personally, this is just me speaking from what I had written a while ago, was that we as a people, as a group of people, just, as a species, there is a fight between not left and right, not right and left, not up and down, not down and up, not any of that sort of thing. But it is a fight between being in a moderate bubble or being an extreme. And this is because if you don't have any sort of like central kind of, I guess, line of reasoning or thought, you're going to be kind of kilter this way and that and just all over the place. And then the extremes are just going to devour the center. And that is where I think we get with this sort of thing. Like with the whole Booth Babes thing, 10 years ago when I saw that, the thing I was questioning was more so they're using attractive, scantily clad women to try to sell their product. So that means they don't have as much faith in their product as the product itself as a game to do it. That was my thought on it. And it's still really my thought. Like, if you... I could see... for example, Falcom has people cosplay as the characters. I could... Like, that isn't so bad. Like, that's... I think that in that regard, that's not as bad of a thing. But when you're trying to have, like, attractive women... Because mainly the people who play those games are men, most of them. I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them are men. It's a way to kind of garner some sales, or at least if not garner sales, push for attention. Because even if you don't sell at least you have the attention and you might sell. Because if there's no attention being paid to it, then there's not going to be any sales. Unfortunately, that's just kind of how that goes. And that's where I feel with a lot of like anime games now. For example, Fairy Fencer F or Neptunia and that sort of thing. It's a lot of like cute moe or just attractive female stuff to push for people just to kind of catch them visually. And like that doesn't tell me anything about your story. That's not pushing anything other than you've got that kind of stuff going on. And to me, it's kind of lazy. Like, I seen a bit of a review for the movie like Hardcore Henry, which I guess is basically like a first-person shooter in movie form, where they were saying that it was misogynistic to have solely it may not be solely attractive women, but you had a lot of brothels or women who were not dressed because they were in a brothel and that sort of thing, or the doctor is this like blonde bombshell sort of thing. But because this is the dichotomy of that line of reasoning is, okay, well, you have that, but it gets mentioned in that review. I think it's the Rotten Tomatoes review. It gets mentioned in that review also that there's just a similar Russian dude all the time, and but you don't hear anything about, well, they're killing a whole bunch of dudes. It's just, well, think about the women being sexualized. And I wonder if it's because of the whole puritanical thing where sex is like the evilness and violence isn't so bad. I inhaled a hair. Gross. Okay, I'm back. Wow. Okay, better. Okay, but so yeah, I wonder if it's something because of that. I'll be honest. In the story I'm writing, Sudraba, there is a brothel scene, and there is also, like I said, the character I really like writing for, Josephine. She's not a part of a brothel or anything, but she pretty much just uses the enticement of sex to get some things done. Either to one of her line of reasonings or thoughts is, you may call me like a whore or something here, but in other places when I'm done here and I'm living elsewhere, they'll be calling me madam, and I'll have servants feeding me and all this kind of stuff. And with the brothel scene, and I've had women read it. Like, my mom has read this, and she's like, even though it's a brothel scene, it's done tastefully well, where it's not just, oh my god, look at the boobies, yeah, like, and I know that's kind of as a mother, but at least with my mother, it's something that I like to do, and I think I might have mentioned in one of the comments, I like to get people who aren't really like associated with that sort of thing to read certain things, and she likes reading it and giving me feedback. And as somebody who lived in a different generation, has a completely different perspective, it can help me get a better idea of how I am doing with the story and with the characters and just how it's flowing and stuff like that. So it just bugs me that the moment that anything is immediately sexy, or if a woman is perceived as being a villainous or something like that, it's immediately kind of struck up as something bad and needs to be stricken from the record. It's a bit silly. Like when I'm with what I'm writing, and just in general, and it's the same with Saedra's Calling, game, Sudraba, anything else that I write. In my head, women are people too. That's the main gist of it. Women are people too. Certainly, there's going to be different perspectives and different motives and different drives, but they are people too. They can feel love, hate, bitterness, joy, and that's just what, that's what kind of, I think that's what people really need to focus on, is that everybody is, people are people, and certainly people are going to have different experiences, in life, but just because we are not the same does not mean people cannot empathize with one another. That's what emotions are for. When you say you're angry, I know what anger is. I can feel that, so I can push to be like, well, okay, I understand. I get what you're going for. I get what you're going for. Not, well, I'm angry because something happened, and it only happens because I'm this way. But you're not like that way, so you couldn't understand. No, that's just that to me always just, that's another thing that riles me up, particularly as a writer, because it's like, I'm not gonna get everybody's motives or understand everything about people, but I'm a person too, and I've got feelings too, and last time I checked, I wasn't a super being who had superpowers, and nor is anybody else. So, yeah, thank you. Sorry for the diatribe, but just if anything, just please, just do that. But yeah, we got Kid Koala here, and he's like, Taylor, I don't think any less of you because of your opinion. Thank you. I would much rather hear other people's thoughts than to constantly think I'm right about everything. There's nothing worse in my opinion than a know-it-all who knows nothing about anything. Which, yeah, that's true. When you have people who just definitively know things just because it's their opinion, so because they know what their opinion is, they know what everything... They espouse their opinion as if that is the definitive truth of something, and it's like there really isn't a definitive truth of anything. I mean, and I was talking to one of my friends about this, and mentioned equalia, I think, is one of the things where my blue may not be your blue. It's one of those kind of weird, when you think of blue, what is blue to you? Or if I say green, what is green to you? And there's no distinct universal green sort of thing. And it also, for example, in, I think it's Russian has like a lot of different languages, a lot of different words for the color pink. So for Russians, they can see these different shades, but because if you grew up in a place where you were just told that there was only orange, blue, yellow, red, brown, white. There's never any variant. There's no ivory. There's no salmon. There's no navy blue. No sky blue. No turquoise, emerald, topaz, and that sort of thing. Your range of perception of colors are going to be very, very narrow. And it's a weird, but it's a very fascinating thing where... I wonder if people can be, if they're taught this narrow way as they get older, I wonder if they're able to learn to kind of see a greater spectrum of color. But yeah, that's, I mean, I'm totally with you. It's an opinion. If you have an opinion, that's, just say, okay, cool. That's fine. I mean... Like you don't like Mega Man 10 that much, kid. Well, that's totally fine. I'm not going to think of you any less for it. That's ridiculous. It's you have your own tastes, and that I have my own tastes. That's what makes this planet interesting. And then he also put here, because I asked him about how the reading was going and stuff, and he responded with, Robert E. Howard's writing style for Conan the Barbarian is brutal. I didn't expect that going in because I read his horror stories first, but your imagination will go nuts trying to visualize everything in the Hyborian Age. I highly recommend you read it whenever you get a chance. There is great fun to be had with Conan, with Howard's Conan stories. I'm about halfway through the book and hoping you can get another 200 pages or 200 or so pages done tomorrow. that is some prolific reading to get. I like, as you just heard there, I had trouble reading 3 sort of paragraphs. It wasn't even 3 paragraphs, but 6 lines. But I know it's different, reading out loud and stuff. But yeah, like, I've got the audiobook, and I mentioned this to him, that I'm listening to Bron Mockmorn on the audiobook, and his writing style is really tough. Like, it's a tough kind of thing, and I wonder if that helps accentuate the characters even more, because Conan the Barbarian, Cole the Conqueror, I think it's Cole the Conqueror, it's Cole, I think Cole the Conqueror, and Bron Mockmorn are all very similar characters from what I heard. It's a very similar kind of badass. But Bron Mockmorn's a really interesting case, because unlike the other two, he is staring defeat and the precipitous drop of his people into barbarity right in the face. And he's like, you know what? This is only going to happen after I'm dead, because I'll be damned if it's going to be happening while I'm still standing. And it just makes his character maybe a bit different in that regard, where he's just... he knows it's coming, but it's not going to come until after he's gone, and it's just a very just poke fate in the eye kind of thing, and be like, yeah, not happening. So, yeah, I hope to get to it sometime soon. I'm reading through Metamorphosis of Ovid's, and I'm really enjoying that. So, hopefully, I'll get to that before too long. And then he asks about the audiobook be free. Then he mentions, I think it just depends on what I'm listening to, or what I'm reading, honestly. If I'm having a hard time getting into a book, I'm probably not going to read a whole lot of it. But if I really get into a book, I'm going to have it done in a couple of days. Also, it's always good to remind yourself reading is supposed to be fun, not work. Bingo! It's got to be fun. Gotta be fun. You don't want to be choring around and just kind of, because then it gets to be a bore. And that's with writing. Writing's got to be fun. So that's why I like my digressions when I'm writing, is that because to me those are a lot of fun. And then I also made a quote to him about the Bhagavad Gita and Oppenheimer, which is a badass quote. It's like, now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. And he really enjoyed that quote as well. So, woo! Thank you, Kid Koala. Oh dear heavens, I'm approaching 40. Okay, and the last few comments here come from the Positiver. I think I said that right. And that is Link of Courage 1 changed his username. He kept the avatar the same, so that I appreciate that. And so here we go. He put, another fantastic episode. Giant smiley face. I did change my YouTube username for various reasons. About censorship, I don't mind some, but I mostly don't like it for the reasons you mentioned. Even crazier to me is the American thing where violence is okay, but a butt is not. I don't mind nudity at all. The Overwatch thing is the dumbest censorship I've heard in years. Both male and females and animals have butts. Why suddenly it's a problem? Right. Yeah, it's... Yeah. Like, I think it's kind of funny that whole thing, oh my goodness, and then all of a sudden when they released the new pose, it just kind of went, and this is what kind of bugs me when, because like that comment that I made, or those comments that I made were, I think, like a week or two after that thing came up, I think. So you can see how quickly it goes from people's mindsets. Do people even remember what it looks like now, the new one? Do people even care? Because it certainly doesn't sound like it, because I am not hearing anything on the internet about this anymore, other than what you guys have responded to. And this is something I detest when it comes to hot takes, and I use hot takes very loosely, because or a better word for it is a fresh take, because you're just, anybody can say something about something that just comes to the foray. Like, that's, which is fine, but if you don't take a time to think about it, you're just kind of saying what comes to your mind right off the bat. Yeah, this show is called Rambling Weekly, and yeah, I am an idiot. And yeah, I just kind of spout from the mouth from time to time. But you know what? I kind of let it like stew and ferment for at least a little bit, so I can be like, oh, okay. Like, I'll be honest, I don't even think about things. I think I have like two divisions of my brain. One that works right now, and the other one that's diligently working behind the scenes, doing everything to make sure that I can like move my mouth and everything, and not sound like a da 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 da. You know, that sort of thing. I honestly think it has like I don't know. My brain is weird, but the oh, now I've lost. See, the one working behind the scenes is going, stop doing this. You're letting the secret out. But nah, I've seriously just derailed myself. This is why the show is called Rambling Weekly. But you know that, and that's with just the whole hot take thing. It's just like you're just people who are very informed about a topic and then do a hot take. I can understand. They've accrued the knowledge to be able to be like boom, boom, boom. So if somebody's a big fan of, say, EA for whatever reason, EA does something and they have a hot take about something. Sure, it's opinionated as all hell, but they have the prior knowledge about the company to have a better formed opinion right off the get-go. But I don't know. And opinion, like I said before with Kid Koala and stuff, opinions are fine. Have opinions. Sure, we can disagree. That's fine, but it's harder when you just kind of when you see something and then like the pose thing is one thing, because it's a pose and you're like, okay, what's the big deal here? And then because the pose gets altered and then you don't hear anything about it, you're like, what was the big deal about this? I'm still confused. I don't even really understand what the hell was the whole big deal. And people are like, it wasn't like her character at all and all this sort of thing. And then, I mean, it's just, it is so much kerfluffle and noise to just, like, I really wish my life was that mundane that I could, or, you know, my brain be that just kind of mellowed out to be like, I'm going to talk about, or, you know, this upsets me. Like, that's like the, I don't know, just something really trivial. A whole lot of world out there, and people are focusing on butt poses in a fucking video game. The nihilist in me wants to wish the great dark void come embrace us all, but go Team Meteor. But that aside, he also has, if it is okay, I want to respond to a topic from, if it's okay, I'd like to respond to a topic from a previous episode about the NES and PS1 RPGs. And this was from the very first episode. So, and this is fine. If you want to do it this way, that's totally fine. Be my guest. As long as I just try not to miss people's comments. But he puts, I love both systems. Actually, I shouldn't. I don't even know if you're man or a woman. Sorry, but the positiver, the positiver said about the here we go. I love both systems RPGs, but it is very hard to go and replay PS1 RPGs the moment I finish it because a lot of them are longer. Xenogears is one of my favorite RPGs of all time. High five. Mostly for the story, but I can't see myself replaying it because it is very long. I get you on that. Like, it's like, I don't know. I would see if you could try to replay it if it's been a handful of years, like 5-10 years maybe. See how it feels to you then. But that's like me too. Like, I can play it, but then it's gonna take a while before it's store up to want to replay it. And then he puts why I love the Dragon Quest series is because most of them, besides 7, are short and to the point with story, although it has been years since I've played 8, which is my favorite game of all time. But I recall that one to be long as well. Maybe it's because I did all the side quests and then the XD emoji sort of thing going. Yeah. I still got to get through 7. 7 is rather lengthy. 8 is really lengthy too, but that is a good point with Dragon Quest games. They are very to the point with their story, and it's that the world kind of is your playground to figure out how to get through things. It holds your hand for a little bit, and then it says, yeah, you got this, right? And you're going, no, I don't got this. I don't know where to go. No. And then you're going around trying to find what you're trying to do, talking to everybody, be like, hey, do you know where I need to go? Hey, do you know where I need to go? Hey, do you know where I need to go? Hey, do you know? But I like that, though. Sure, it doesn't have, people might complain about the lack of conveyance on where to go, but in the same hand, it's supposed to be an adventure story. It's supposed to be an adventure game. You've got to find out where to go. Adventures aren't just going to be clear cut from point A to point B. Yeah. So, I find PS1, back to his comment, I find PS1 Japanese developed RPGs, not Western ones, because that's a bit different beast, to be the line of classic storytelling without the anime trope, in between the let's take quests from animated series and put in the story. Yeah, that's they that's something I did. Yeah, they did try to do, is try to have a very concise story. There are tropes in there, and it got a bit heavier in the PS1 genre, but it's as time has gone on, it seemed a lot, and it's gotten a lot more intertwined with that, and that's why I've grown really, I don't want to say disdainful, but disinterested in the genre as a whole. Because look at Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem's a classic example for me, where it's just the tropes have ruined it for me. It's not interesting. The tone is all sorts of changed. It's when you have characters commenting about how milking cows will give them lots of practice, you're like, what? Oh, okay. I mean, whatever. Okay, jerk off comedy aside, that's just what? That sort of thing. And I really dislike that. It just doesn't do it for me. And then I responded, and he responded back with, because the whole nudity thing and porn and all that stuff, and he responded with, I'm the same about porn, which is not really my thing, but if people like it, go like it. Never got that, but I understand why some people are into it. That's all I have to say about it. Cannot recommend Dragon Quest VIII enough, not just because it is my favorite game of all time, but it's got a great cast of characters, looks amazing, especially on PS2, and the soundtrack is amazing. I got the 3DS version, so it may not look as good. It might be a little toned down, but if it looks like Dragon Quest VII, it'll be fine, because I like how Dragon Quest VII looks. And I heard I think it's the orchestral version is the same in the 3DS version. So, yay! Those are the comments. Woo! Cycling in just under 50 minutes. Oh my god. You guys are killing me. Apologies. I just kind of burped there. Whew, excuse me. But if you've got comments, leave them, and I will get to them in the next episode. Hopefully I'll be back onto my regular schedule, and I will be good to go and be right as rain. So let's take a break and get into the quotes. Yeah. All right, that was a remixed version of a song from Final Fantasy III. It's titled Area, but I kind of wonder if it's just area. So, Final Fantasy III, not the biggest fan of. I played through the the DS version. It was okay. It wasn't so bad, but it was definitely not that good. At least I thought not so good. But yeah. That aside, we are gonna stick with Ovid because I want to say that I used a quote from Ovid last week. Could be wrong in that. But we're going to stick with it just in case if I was right. And there's a few things in here that I've read. I haven't finished it yet, but in Metamorphosis, there's some weird things in here, and it has something to do with like etymology and stuff. Well, I'll just get this clear off my chest right at the moment. I watch, not say I believe, I watched like those things like Ancient Aliens and stuff. I've read some of the like Graham Hancock stuff like Fingerprints of the Gods, Magicians of the Gods, and that sort of thing. I'm more in that sort of favor of there being people being very, very, I don't want to say advanced to where they're like flying through space or anything like that, but a lot smarter than we give them credit for, of just, taking two pieces of bone and hammering them together like pituitary retards. That's my kind of thing. Like, the Ancient Alien things is interesting, but in the same hand, it gives, like, absolutely no credence of any sort of intellectual merit out of the human species. It's like, we're a bunch of dum-dums, and the aliens did everything for us. That kind of bugs me, because it's like, I think if given the chance, there could be some really good, like Leonardo da Vinci, he knew aliens and all this. It's whatever, but I like that sort of thing. I like etymology. I love ancient myths because there's a peculiarity to them about great darknesses covering the land and stuff. And they're in Ovid's Metamorphosis. He talks about Phaethon, I think is how you'd say his name, who was the son of Apollo or Helios, and he takes the chariot because he finally because his mother claims that that's who his father is, and so he heads to the far east and finally meets him, and then his father's like, I'm certainly, yes, I am your father, and if I will grant you, whatever kind of wish you want, and he asks to ride the chariot to guide the sun along its path for the day, and then his father's like, no, please, anything but that that's you're asking for a death wish and not some sort of gift sort of thing. And he eventually acquiesces and lets him ride it, and he scorches the earth. And it's like the description for it and everything is really weird. Like, the etymology for fire and water is really weird. You see this played out in other. I think the Bible actually has it where you have the destruction of the earth by water in the deluge, and then you have the destruction of the earth by fire, which is still promised to be. Hey, but it's also mentioned in Metamorphosis as well. Because at one point, Zeus wants to kind of rain fire down on people, but he knows that eventually the planet, the solar system, and the universe will be engulfed in flames. So he's like, well, we'll let this one go because it'll eventually happen sooner or later. And it's like, this is kind of dark. And it's kind of weird. And it's kind of creepy. But that's not what this is about. This quote is actually not at the end, but after Phaethon is struck by one of Zeus's thunderbolts, and he is careening down, and then he dies from it, and then the sun kind of goes away for a little bit. Yeah. So on his epitaph, this is what it was written. Is that here Phaethon lies, in Phobos' car he fared, and though he greatly failed, more greatly dared. And to me, this is a very interesting line. Is that, and I guess this is, this should be something that people should have less of a fear of failure and more of just daring to try to do something. Because, we're all we're all on that slow march to death. It's what we leave behind that's, what's going to kind of be about us and stuff. And yeah, though he scorched the earth and, turned Libya dry and into a desert and all these horrible things, he dared to try to go beyond what was seen as kind of his level of ability. And that in itself is a bit, double-edged, because here you caused mass destruction, but here you've also been able to last through the ages because of your hubris. I mean, not even hubris really, but your steel will to try to go beyond. And that, it's a very, I guess with just myself or just any of you out there, is that to greatly dare, and even if you do fail, at least you tried. That's how the mentality I have with it, with working on the game, with writing the story and stuff like that, is that even though it's not as like daring per se as trying to guide the sun, but just try and do those things. Try to rise above what you think of yourself, and even if you do fail, at least you tried, and to keep on doing that. So yeah, we're gonna play out to it is a song by Yugen, and it doesn't have a title. It is very, I almost kind of see it as like, it's like a the image I get is like half Western, but also kind of like medieval fair kind of vibe. I know that's kind of a weird combination, but listen to that. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend. I will do the same. And now we're going to close a very lengthy episode of Rambling Weekly. Whew. So take it easy, guys, and have a good one.